What if I told you that 28 years later isn't really a 28 movie? Not like 28 days later or not like 28 weeks later, but something else entirely, wearing the skin of the franchise. Today we're talking about 28 years later, a film that in my opinion would have been far better served if it had a completely different title. Because while it technically takes place in the 28 universe, it barely feels like it belongs there. This is a movie with strong craftsmanship, solid performances, and an interesting premise, but also one that fundamentally misunderstands what made the first two films resonate. And unfortunately, it also fumbles what could have been its strongest emotional core, the family dynamic. Hey everyone, this is Chris Bolts and I'm coming in with a review of 28 Years Later. Do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And please leave a comment, because I do like reading your comments, whether positive or negative. And if it's negative, as long as it's respectful, I do try to respond to those, because I do like the debate. Now let's rewind for a moment. 28 Days Later wasn't just about the infected. It was about panic, collapse, and the terrifying speed at which society can unravel. 28 Weeks Later expanded on that, showing us militarization, containment, and the brutal cost of human failure. Both films shared key DNA: rage-infected that felt fast, feral, and horrifying, tight pacing, intimate character stories against massive societal collapse, and most importantly, human choices making everything worse. 28 Years Later does not operate on that same wavelength. Yes, it does take place in the UK, and the opening scene explicitly ties it into the 28 universe. But beyond that, the themes, the zombies, the tone, and the pacing are all dramatically different. This doesn't feel like an evolution of the franchise. It feels like a parallel idea that borrowed the name. Let's talk about the infected. These are not the rage-filled monsters we've come to associate with this series. They behave differently, they're framed differently, and more importantly, they feel different. We see the fat zombies that crawl along the ground, eating whatever they can put their mouths to. We see the infected that hunt in packs and are commanded by an alpha. And then there's the alpha themselves that are bigger, stronger, faster, more resilient than the regular zombies that they command. The terror in the original films come from immediacy, from speed, and from unpredictability. Here, the zombies often feel like a background mechanic rather than a constant existential threat. The movie is slower and more contemplative, and while that's not inherently bad, it does clash hard with audience expectations. Which brings me to the trailer. This movie had an excellent trailer.
Auntie, what's going on?
Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
Seven, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, keep from going lunatic. Boom, moving up and down again. There's no
The trailer sold intensity, urgency, a return to form, but the film itself doesn't deliver that experience. And that's not just a marketing issue, that's a trust issue. Because what we got instead was something quieter, more abstract, and far less connected to what longtime fans love about this franchise. Now here's what I think the film truly drops the ball, and that's the family. At the heart of this story is a fractured family unit, one that could have been used to explore leadership, guilt, responsibility, and redemption in a post-apocalyptic world. The father is flawed, he was unfaithful, and he's not a perfect man. But that doesn't mean he stops being a father. And yet, the director makes a baffling choice. He abandons the father's role as leader, both narratively and thematically. Instead of exploring how a broken man tries to protect his family despite his failures, the film sidelines him during the mainland journey. This was the moment to dig deep. Imagine a father forced to confront his mistakes while keeping his family alive, leadership under moral strain, a man trying to reclaim his role not as a husband, but as a protector. Instead, the film almost denies him that arc. The mainland exploration should have been where this dynamic was tested and refined, where tension wasn't just about zombies, but about trust, resentment, and survival as a unit. But the movie chooses not to engage with that. And that's a massive missed opportunity, because the 28 series has always been about people breaking under pressure, not just bodies. To be clear, this is not a bad movie. It's well shot, the cinematography is strong, and the acting is solid across the board. There are moments of real atmosphere, and the premise itself is genuinely interesting. If this film were called something else, if it wasn't burdened with 28 expectations, it would likely be received far more positively. But franchise films do not exist in a vacuum. And that's the real question. And for me, the answer is, it doesn't belong in the 28 universe. Not really, at least. It doesn't feel like a continuation, and it doesn't feel like a thematic successor. It feels like a reinterpretation that forgot what it was reinterpreting. There's a difference between evolving a franchise and disconnecting from it. And 28 years later crosses that line. Now that might be intentional, because the 28 years is going to be a trilogy. The next part of the trilogy, The Bone Temple, has recently been released, and that is receiving stellar reviews. But maybe it should have been just a completely different franchise entirely, as opposed to being part of the 28 universe, being tied to 28 days later and 28 weeks later. So as far as a grade, here's where I land. If you're a 28 series fan, you should watch this at least once. Not because it's essential viewing, but because curiosity demands it. But if you decide to skip it, I wouldn't say that you're missing anything critical. Once again, there is going to be this is part of a trilogy. So if you are interested in the 28 years trilogy, you definitely want to go ahead and watch it and be prepared for Bone Temple. But otherwise, if you just care about the first two movies, then just watch it at least once, just to get your curiosity satisfied. And then after that, you don't have to go back and watch it again. So I'm giving 28 Years Later a 6 out of 10. It's a decent movie that is well made, well acted, and has interesting ideas. But as a fan of the series, what we got doesn't feel like it belongs in the 28 universe. And that's the real tragedy of this movie. Not that it's bad, but that it could have been so much more. So what do you guys think about 28 Years Later? Have you seen the movie? Are you interested in it? Jump down in the comments and let me know what you think. And make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Boat signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.